The Battle of Lepanto, the clash that saved Europe. In the year 1571, Europe stood on the precipice of disaster. The Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful and expansive empires the world had ever seen, had its eyes set on the Mediterranean and beyond. With their dominance at sea, the Ottomans threatened not only to conquer more European territory, but also to control the very heart of global trade. In response, an unlikely alliance of European powers came together, determined to stop this seemingly unstoppable force. What followed was one of the largest and most decisive naval battles in history, the Battle of Lepanto. This battle didn't just decide the fate of the Mediterranean, it decided the future of Europe, the rise of the Ottoman Empire. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire had been expanding westward. After the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottomans steadily conquered territories in southeastern Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. By the time Sultan Selim II came to power, the empire's reach spanned from the gates of Vienna to the shores of the Red Sea. Their navy controlled much of the eastern Mediterranean, making trade dangerous and difficult for European powers. Cyprus, a critical island for Venetian trade, was the next target for the Ottomans. Its fall in 1570 sent shockwaves through Europe. If the Ottomans could conquer Cyprus, what would stop them from controlling all of the Mediterranean, and perhaps Europe itself? The formation of the Holy League. Recognizing the existential threat the Ottomans posed, Pope Pius V worked tirelessly to bring together Europe's fractured powers. In an era where Christian kingdoms were often more interested in fighting one another than a common enemy, uniting them was no easy feat. But Pius V knew that only a unified European front could stand against the Ottoman juggernaut. Spain, under King Philip II, the Papal States, and the Venetian Republic were the major players. But even smaller states like Genoa and the Knights of Malta contributed forces to the Holy League. These were no ordinary allies. They were kingdoms with deep rivalries, brought together by a common purpose: survival. At the helm of this grand alliance was Don John of Austria, a 24-year-old illegitimate son of Emperor Charles V. Though young, Don John was charismatic, brave, and had already proven himself in battle. His leadership would be tested in the coming months, as he was charged with leading the fleet of the Holy League against one of the most formidable naval powers the world had ever known. The build-up to battle. As the two sides prepared for war, the tension across Europe was palpable. The Ottoman fleet, under the command of the experienced and ruthless Ali Pasha, was confident. They had 300 ships, many of them galleys that could move quickly in battle, and tens of thousands of well-trained soldiers and sailors. The Holy League, on the other hand, had fewer ships, around 230, but their Venetian galleasses were technological marvels. These massive ships carried artillery powerful enough to destroy enemy ships at a distance. Both sides knew that the battle would come down to more than just numbers. Strategy, positioning, and luck would all play their part. The eve of battle. On the evening of October 6, 1571, the fleets of the Holy League and the Ottoman Empire anchored in the Gulf of Patras. The next day, history would be made. Soldiers on both sides prayed for victory, knowing that many of them would not survive the coming day. For the Holy League, this was a crusade, a battle ordained by God to defend Christendom from the advance of Islam. For the Ottomans, this was a chance to solidify their control over the Mediterranean and expand their empire further into Europe. The battle begins. At dawn on October 7th, 1571, the two fleets finally met. The Ottomans, as was their tradition, formed their fleet into a crescent formation, intending to surround and overwhelm the Christian fleet. Don John, however, had anticipated this move. He divided his forces into three main groups, with a strong center and flanking wings to meet the Ottoman crescent head-on. The Holy League's 6 massive Venetian galleasses, armed with dozens of cannons, were positioned at the front of the formation. As the battle commenced, these ships unleashed devastating volleys, sinking Ottoman vessels before they could close the distance. At sea level, the chaos was unimaginable. Ships collided and men leaped from deck to deck, engaging in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The clash of swords and the thunder of cannons filled the air. Blood stained the decks of both fleets as the battle raged on for hours. At the heart of the fighting, the Ottoman flagship faced off against Don John's flagship, the Real. In this intense melee, Ali Pasha himself was killed, and his flagship captured, dealing a critical blow to Ottoman morale. The turning point in Ottoman collapse. With the death of Ali Pasha, the Ottoman fleet lost its leader, and the battle began to turn in favor of the Holy League. The disciplined and well-armed European forces began to overwhelm the Ottoman ships. The Venetian galleasses, positioned at strategic points, continued to rain destruction upon the Ottoman vessels. The Ottoman fleet was shattered, with over 200 ships destroyed or captured. The Holy League, though suffering heavy losses themselves, had secured an overwhelming victory. Europe celebrates and the legacy of Lepanto. News of the victory spread quickly, and celebrations erupted across Europe. Pope Pius V declared the victory at Lepanto a miracle, and churches throughout the continent rang their bells in thanksgiving. The battle was immortalized in art, poetry, and song. The famous Spanish author Miguel de Cervantes, who fought in the battle and was wounded, would later call it the greatest event seen by the ages. While the Ottomans would remain a formidable power, their naval dominance had been broken. More than just a military victory, Lepanto was a turning point in European history. It symbolized the unity of Christian Europe in the face of a common threat and marked the beginning of the decline of Ottoman naval power. For centuries, it was celebrated as a triumph of good over evil, a defining moment in the struggle between Christianity and Islam. Today, historians recognize Lepanto as one of the most important naval battles in history, one that shaped the course of European and Mediterranean geopolitics for generations. The long-term impact on European power. Though the Ottomans would continue to be a significant force in the Eastern Mediterranean, the balance of power had shifted. In the decades that followed, European powers, especially Spain and Venice, expanded their influence across the seas. This victory allowed European nations to invest more resources into exploration and trade, leading to the eventual age of European dominance over global trade routes. The Battle of Lepanto may have been one victory, but its ripple effects contributed to Europe's eventual rise as the world's most powerful continent. More than 450 years later, the Battle of Lepanto remains a defining moment in the history of Europe and the Mediterranean. It was a clash of empires, cultures, and religions, but above all, it was a testament to the power of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. As we look back, we remember the brave men who fought and died on that fateful day, and we recognize the enduring significance of the battle that saved Europe.